Good evening. Tonight is a meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for April 9th, 2012. Uh, Tonight we have matters under new business and continuances. I'd like to remind everyone, if you'd like to speak on behalf of a petition, that you please sign in with your name and address before addressing the board. Our first matter before us is under new business. This is ZB 2012-10. The petition is a special permit under signs. The applicant is Kevin Wong. The property is located at 101 Lakeview Avenue, and the petition is to install new internally illuminated signage, one projecting sign for a new restaurant pursuant to Section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Is Mr. Wong here before us? Good evening, Mr. Wong.
I come into a prior sign for my restaurant. The people can drive by, they can see my restaurant. So that's what I'm here for.
So I as well as the rest of the board members have taken a look at your petition. Did you receive the comments back from the Department of Planning and Development?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know one of the concerns that they had was I believe was the sign, the size of the sign, also the information that's on the sign, and there was also a comment regarding the projection. Is there some comments you'd like to make about that, please?
You mean the size, right?
What's that? Did he get a copy of the comments? Okay.
I don't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the size, I try apply to put on the sign, the 16 square foot sign, I try to apply the one held to hang over the sign.
Yeah. Is anybody from your sign company here?
The sign company, it's on Boston, they cannot come in, so I just come
They
in.
couldn't come tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So regarding the size of the sign, there was a concern about the size of it. You don't feel a smaller sign would be conducive for your building?
I'm not sure how small this can be, because usually the sign company, they recommend me to get the size sign. I'm not sure how small, so the city got approved to me.
Right. Well, I think one of the, based on the information we received, one of the issues would be the, I'll say the amount of information you have on the sign.
Information, I just try to put the restaurant name and the phone number in there. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I know in one of the comments they talked about the phone number itself.
If you allow me to put a phone number, I can take a phone number off. I just have a name on it. It'll be fine too.
Yeah, I guess I was going to ask. Obviously, I know what the need for the phone number is, but is that really a requirement that you need for the sign? I don't think so, do you?
Yeah, but if it's just, if it just put in a name and the people drive by, they can see, I can take a phone number off, so
Yep.
just leave a name on it, it'll be fine too.
Okay. And also in their comments, there was a section regarding how much of an overhang from the building there was.
How much?
And that also had to do with the size of the sign that you had. So I would imagine the purpose of the sign is to draw attention to the restaurant for people driving by. Is that the intent of the sign?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been there, sir?
I just buy the restaurant like a month ago.
A month ago?
Yeah, I just opened the restaurant a month ago. I bought the restaurant like 2 months ago. I closed down, for the, waiting for the, the liquor license, and, I opened it for a month now.
Yep.
So I had no, I waiting, so I try to have one the sign, then people drive by, they can see the restaurant,
Right. Joe, was that property, did that come before us? I believe it did. Am I incorrect in stating that?
I believe it came before the board a while ago. I think it was for parking requirements. I don't think there was anything for signage previously. I think
Was
that's
this
why.
gentleman the owner at the time also?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's where my confusion lies. All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to comment on the sign at this point, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public at this point. Okay, sir, thank you. Is anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Favor, hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here that'd like to speak in opposition?
Good evening, members of the board.
Yes,
Debbie
ma'am.
Bork, 123 Lakeview Avenue. I come before you tonight to speak in opposition of the proposed sign being placed on the left front side of this building. This is the second time this property has been before you. Once for a parking variance, which we were in favor of, we weren't against, and now the light. When does it stop? The proposed light will illuminate my home along with the home of my tenants. It will be a magnificence of the neighborhood since they will run up the ramp, try to hit it, and jump the wall, which they do now, and they end up on my property. It'll also block the little view we do have. We do watch for suspicious activity in the neighborhood, illegal activity, and so forth. It has taken many years of hard work to clean up that part of Lakeview Avenue, and I don't want to see it go lost. I cannot count on this business for shutting it off at a certain hour because the flashing sign that faces the parking lot is left on all night long. I have someone who is housebound, and their only enjoyment is looking out the window. Now I feel this sign should be flush against the building or on the right corner of the building, since that is where all his electrical is. I feel this is a quality of life issue. It'll illuminate my home and take away the little view I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
So as far as your property,
I abut him directly.
so are you on the opposite side of the parking?
Yes,
Okay, so you're the property right next door,
yes,
which is where, according to the paperwork we received, that's where the sign actually would be more down towards
yes,
your end, correct?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Anne Marie Page. I reside at 26 Fremont Street in Lowell, and I sit on the board of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. We're very happy to see a business here in Centerville, but we have a little signage problem going on in Centerville. This is a good-sized building. You can't miss it when you drive by. And if it has proper signage in the front, you'll be able to see what it is and what it's all about. Right now, there is a moving sign, you know, the kind that say, "Eat it, Joe's Bar and Grill," and little happy music things. When you drive down Lakeview Avenue coming from Bridge, that blinking sign, which just showed up one day, because none of us were notified about it, she was on the building, and that's a blinking sign, bright, and it moves. The letters move. And as Debbie says, it's on evidently all the time. Now, this sign that they're looking at tonight is a sign to go, is you facing the building would be on the left side of the building. I know this is my right, on the left side of the building. And Debbie's house is right here. And on this side of the building, there is a big driveway. So for that sign to be sitting up here in the front of that building, facing you, and blinking or bright, is not good for a neighbor. And it's not really that necessary. If you've got your signage in the front, which they do, and they've got that little glowing, blinking sign, I don't think they need another one over a neighbor's yard. It wouldn't be a good idea. And if you have good food, good service, and a clean atmosphere, you're going to be a successful business without a blinking sign. I thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
My name is Michael Laflamme. I abut the property at 79 Lakeview Avenue. And the sign, I have pictures if it would help, but the way the sign is, type of strobe light, 24/7 you have a strobe flashing in your bedroom windows, whoops, excuse me, illuminating. Now, that's the front of the building. They put the sign on the corner of the building. If they put it more centered in the center of the building, it's more square, the windows would be more of an aggravation. This is the property at night, this is when I look out the window, it's pretty much lit up now. If you had strobe lights there, it's a carnival atmosphere, it's overwhelming to the privacy line. Now, they do have a sign parallel to Lakeview Avenue, I would have no problem with. That's Lakeview Avenue, and that goes into their driveway, you know, which would illuminate my property. So if they kept it on Lakeview Avenue to get customers' attention, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, because I believe directly across the street is it like a vacant lot across the street?
I don't know how I can explain this. If this is their property and this is my property, they face each other, and the space is their parking lot,
Oh, I understand that.
okay? So I'm just saying, if this was illuminated and flashing, the house catches all the flash.
Right, but you were talking about Lakeview Ave. I thought you were talking about the front of the building that face.
I am, that's my
parallel.
suggestion,
Yep.
that's my compromise. Now, the front of their building is right here, parallel with Lakeview Avenue. They do have a fixed sign there now.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't know about anyone else.
Yep. Okay.
Would you like to see the pictures closed
Sure.
up? Can I bring them up to you?
Absolutely.
Let me start at the beginning. You look out my windows, this is what you see,
Right.
separated by the parking lot.
Yep.
If you are on their parking, or on their porch, looking out, this is what you see, my windows. Okay, so these two buildings are like this.
Yep.
Okay, so that bright sign would be, I don't know, 200 feet, 150 feet into my windows. The suggestion is, this sign, and this is kind of what you're getting at night now,
Sure.
is somewhat overwhelming.
Yep.
Okay, again, if the lights are fixed, that's one aggravation, but when they strobe, that's an extreme.
So when you, okay, go ahead.
And then this is running parallel with Lakeview Avenue. You know, this is the front of their building.
Sure.
Like that. This is no issue, that faces the street. I don't know if there's any residential houses that would complain about that. But anyways, that's my suggestion.
Yep.
And the building was constructed about 2 years ago with the name Grace Gardens, if you remember it as that.
Yep.
And then
That's what I remember it as.
took possession not too long ago. All right, so.
Can we just hold on to those? You can have them after the
Keep
meeting?
those, I have
Yep.
other copies.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Why don't you just pass those down to those guys? I'm just going to have the board members take a look at these pictures for a minute. Anyone else would like to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Going to open it up to the board at this point. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple questions about the signage, if I could just ask the applicant. I think it's a great-looking restaurant, and I think that you do need a sign that is projecting out perpendicular to Lakeview Ave to help with visibility, because I do think that you don't see enough of what's going on driving by. You do walking, but I think driving by, you miss some of the opportunity to understand what's in the restaurant. That being said, you already have a LED light, sign on the building. Is that something that has been granted by the city council or the city zoning board of appeals, that sign that's on the building right now? The scrolling LED sign?
No, I don't, that, when I, before I buy it, that they already have there, so.
Okay, so it may or may not have been previously approved. You're not sure?
I'm not sure about that,
Okay.
because, when we buy the restaurant, there's already there, so.
Is it your intent that when this new sign, if it got approved, that other sign would come down?
Excuse me?
Is it your intent, if we were to look at approval of a sign on the front of the building, the way your application reads, that other sign would be eliminated? The scrolling LED sign, would that be kept on the building as well as this additional signage, or would that be removed?
I'm sorry, my English is not very good, so I don't understand.
The images in your, the images that were presented show sort of a before and after view. And in the after view, it seems as though that sign has been removed.
It's been, yeah, okay.
I think it's important to upgrade the building. I think that scrolling LED sign is a unfortunate feature, and I'd like to see it removed, frankly. The intent on the sign itself is very large. 4 feet by 4 feet seems a little overpowering for a sign on that facade. It just seems more than it needs to be. And so I'm just wondering how the scale of that was arrived at. Do you absolutely, I mean, especially if you eliminate the phone number, you could get by with a smaller scale sign, I think, maybe a 3 by 3. And it does seem to have a feature where it is actually maybe on your property line, if not over the property line on the sidewalk. We're not sure. It seems as though you're right on the edge. So it seems as though you'd want to make that smaller.
This smaller, okay.
There's a dimension here of 8 feet, that it goes from grade to 8 feet up. It's the bottom of the sign, which seems a little misleading because the graphic, again, on the building indicates that it's probably more like 12 feet above grade. Do you know where that 8 foot is measured from? I know you're not the person who created the sign, but that seems to be a question. And then the last one is there's a lot of opportunity for improving the graphic here, but I'm not sure what you're accomplishing with an internally lit sign. Your other signage on the building that you're proposing is going to be not internally lit, correct?
Yes,
Which is an upscale kind of image. I think an internally lit sign, I think of chain restaurants or maybe something that's not quite as upscale as a restaurant like you have here. So I'm just wondering if you could have an externally lit sign rather than an internally lit sign. That would be more in keeping, I think, with what you established for the rest of the building. And it would have less glare for the neighbors. I think it would be a great feature for the building to have an externally lit sign. You understand what I'm saying? The lighting would be from fixtures that would be shining on the sign graphic rather than from lighting inside the sign itself.
okay. So you mean that we cannot have the night sign, right, with the sign with a night?
You would have the lights shining on the sign at night, I think, as an option. It seems as though the internally lit sign is, I think, an issue for the neighbors for sure, but is also, I think, you're already going to the pains of having signage on the building that's not internally lit, and I don't think that you're doing yourself any favor by having an internally lit sign. If you could live with an externally lit sign, I think that that would be a good win for you as a restaurant owner. It'd be the right, I think, visual for an upscale restaurant as well as the neighbors.
Okay,
It's just a thought. I think it'd be a good compromise to strike.
okay.
But I think your graphic is too large. I think that your graphic should be more like a 3x3.
So you mean if I have like small, like 3x3 feet, it would be,
Well, I think you have to pull it away from your property line. You want it not to overhang the property line.
okay.
And I just think that that looks out of scale with the rest of your restaurant. I think that the sign, I mean, you might want to work with DPW, I'm sorry, DPD, to come up with a better graphic for a successful image for your restaurant.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Dennis stole a lot of my thunder. A lot of the ideas and questions that I had, Dennis covered already, but a couple that were left were just hours of illumination for the restaurant. It sounds like the scrolling sign is running 24/7 now, which typically we would require that the sign is only lit during hours of operation, which I don't know what those are. I assume you could tell me that.
Oh, I'm not sure about this, because when I open, by the restaurant, the signs are already there, so I don't know much about the before that.
I mean, the hours at the restaurant will be open. Have you said?
How many hours?
Yeah.
We open 11 to 10.
So the sign would be shut off at 10 p.m.?
No, probably at midnight.
Okay. Is there a reason why you'd want to leave it on after it was closed?
Probably people drive by can see, maybe,
Just so they know it was there?
yeah.
Okay. So my thoughts on it are, I would rather see, if you're going to internally light a sign, I'd rather see it flush with the building, sitting flat on the building now where the current sign is, more in the middle of the building. But I understand driving north and south on that road, it's hard to see a sign that's flat against until you're kind of right on top of it and you have to look to your side. So I understand why you're trying to kind of go perpendicular to the building so it will be sticking out into the road so you can see it. So I guess my suggestion, or recommendation would be, if you're not happy with going flat, lighting up or not lighting up, or doing externally illuminated signs, I would at least recommend considering sliding the sign towards the middle of the building.
The middle of the building, okay.
So at that point, at least the two neighbors that are on each side, across the street is either a vacant lot or more retail space, but at least on each side, it would at least be shadowed by your own building versus being directly on somebody else's property line or looking in their bedroom windows. So I think that's something you might want to consider. Thank you.
Okay, so you want me move to sign to middle of the restaurant, right? Not the.
I'm just making a suggestion that I think that would be less intrusive on the two neighbors that abut the property on the left and right-hand side.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Carrie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. As I look at your sign company's rendition of the sign, unfortunately, the sign company's not here, and it's probably be directed towards them. We do have issue with the overhang on the side of the building coming over the property. My question would be is, why are we coming 12 inches? And it appears we have what appears to me to be a see-through gap of the sign. So you're 12 inches. You're accessing you're coming out by 4 by 4, but 12 inches of that is dead space. I think, number one, that's a detriment to the sign itself. Why? And I'm trying to focus in on whether that would be a clear view hanger. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
When I look at the sign and I see this 12-inch gap, why would? And this obviously should be. I would hope that the representative of the sign company would be here to answer that, because it's obviously an architectural question. But you have a 12-inch gap between the wall and the sign. So you're increasing by 1 foot. And then, the suggestion was to decrease by a foot, but we actually will not decrease by a foot. It'll actually be a wash if you look at it symmetrically. So my original question would be a reduction by that and have the sign flush. Having it internally illuminated definitely poses issue with me as it relates to the abutters. Whether you need to have that internally illuminated or have an external spotlight on there during hours of operation, I think would be something that you would think about. Now, was there a particular reason why you chose that side of the building for the sign? Is it because of the north and south egress of the street?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess at this point, I would rather see a externally illuminated sign. In my opinion, totally eliminate that 1 foot, extension, if you will. It seems like it's almost like a hanging plant. I have no other way to describe it as I look at the pictorial here. Removal of the number and go in a different direction. From the photos I was presented tonight, it does seem though, when I do look at this photo here, the nighttime view, it seems as though there are 2 parking lot lights on the side of the building that do illuminate the front of the building. So I think you should revisit at this point, I would suggest you revisit how that sign is actually being hung, number one, and definitely remove that 1 foot. And if, as my colleague suggested, reducing the sign to 3 feet, and if my math is right, we really aren't reducing it 3 feet. If we reduce that 12-inch overhang, would we have a reduction of 1 foot, perhaps? The scale of the 4x4 come down to 3x3 and eliminate that 12-inch gap. Maybe a decent compromise. However, I still have issue with the internal illumination, because if that is a detriment to the neighbors, perhaps you may look at a flat external illuminated sign. I certainly understand what you're trying to do, and having the business in the Centerville section is obviously a much needed property value. You're going on the tax roll, you're a businessman, you're trying to start out. I can certainly appreciate that, but at the same time, the residential aspect of the neighborhood should be looked at as well. So unfortunately, your sign company representative is not here, and I think those questions should be posed to him, because I think he could explain that a lot further. And the other question I have is the height of the sign. Was that chosen by you, or was that chosen by the sign company?
Sign company.
Sign company chose that height, 8 feet above grade? Okay. Again, might be a question I would pose to the sign company, is how they exactly came up with that height, and if they took in consideration the neighbors behind you. So I guess those are the few questions that I have that are unanswered at this time. It kind of makes it a little difficult to make an accurate decision for you tonight. So do you have any comment or understanding what I'm trying to ask?
Because I don't speak very good enough English, I hope, to have one tutor, they
Okay.
can just buy it. I cannot, find one friend of mine here who can speak very good English, so.
I guess if those questions were answered, and why we traveled down this, it almost looks like a hanging plant to me, and it's giving an extra foot of protrusion out onto the overhang of the city. So, the sign company's not coming tonight, is that correct?
Yeah.
Representative from the sign company? Okay. Okay, I have no further questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Gary. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. Like my fellow board members, I do have several concerns with your signage, Mr. Wong. Now, I'm very pleased with the building. It's in great shape, and I know you spent a lot of money in your new business, and I understand what you're trying to accomplish. You want to make it as visible as possible. Okay, but what you need to understand is you're surrounded by a residential area. Okay, it's pretty much surrounded by it. So we need to show some concern for them, and we need to bring a decent look to the neighborhood, because they're all keeping their properties up, so we don't want to distract them. I too have several issues with the overhead sign. I think it's too low. I think over the sidewalk is not a good place, over a city sidewalk. I'd like to see your signage attached to your building. I'm definitely not in favor for overnight illumination. I want those signs turned off when you're not operating, whether it's 10, 11 at night. I want those signs turned off till the following day, okay? We're here to help you and your business, and I can assure you that, but I think tonight, we will not come to an agreement tonight. I don't want to vote on this hastily. What I'd like you to do, if, the chairman and the other board members feel the same, is you need to sit down with the city planning and development department in the neighborhood and the neighbors and work out a plan that suits everybody.
Okay.
And I'd like to see you back here in 2 weeks or 4 weeks with your sign company, that is, okay?
Okay.
Make sure they, okay?
Okay.
And to work this out, because I'm not prepared to vote on this tonight, as is. It won't be good, so I'm only one vote, Mr. Chairman, but that's how I feel at this time. I think this needs a lot of work. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Wong, I think you've heard what everybody on the board has to say about this. I think the neighborhood association can work pretty closely with you. I mean, if I take a look at that building, I'm very impressed by how clean it looks, how you have the parking. I mean, you have a business, as far as I'm concerned, is set up for success. I hate to see, just because you want to put up a sign, that we're going to have some negativity over it. But I would agree with Corey's comments. I would highly suggest that you get together with your sign company, and I would engage DPD and maybe come in and sit down with them. Joe's listened to all the comments tonight. I think Joe has a good understanding of what the board's looking at. I think you've heard from your neighbors that are on the same street with you, that are going to be there day in and day out. I'm sure they'd like to see a business and have a neighbor and yourself. You might want to introduce yourself to these people and get to know them and figure out, why they feel the way they feel also. But hopefully you've understood, the comments that the board has made. And obviously the size of the sign, easy for me to say. The illumination, I think, is a big key. The location on the building, all these things need to be analyzed and put together. It's kind of interesting we're talking this much about a sign, but it shows you how important it is, especially to these people who live in the neighborhood. The issue on the scrolling sign, now, I understand it was on there before, but I'm going to direct this to Joe. We've had enough issues with scrolling signs on this board. First of all, how can we handle the scroller? Because as far as I'm concerned, we don't have those type of scrolling signs are approved in this city as of now. Is that correct?
I haven't seen a whole lot of those scrolling signs in the city at all myself. Whether or not it ever received any kind of board approval or even a building permit, I couldn't tell you.
Well, if I could ask, when we approved the for that building originally, before Mr. Wong was there, I don't recall anything with a sign. I can just speak for myself, sitting there looking at your property, watching that continually, and that was during the day, scrolling. We don't have scrollers anymore. In fact, if I could ask DPD to look into that, if we're going to have a sign like that for this business, I want to understand exactly what they can or can't use. And I'd probably want to revisit that also as part of this. I know it's not part of the application, but I think we have to entertain it. But again, I think if you, even with the neighborhood association that's here, who's a very strong, active group in that area, you might want to work with them also. And so with that, do you have any questions for me, Mr. Wong? Okay. No, I think everybody wants to see you succeed there. But I think we have to put a plan together that meets all the requirements that we have and also that meets the needs of the neighborhood. All right?
Okay.
Joe, as far as the continuance, I don't know if I want to hold it to 2 weeks. He might need more time than that. Should we just do a continuance at this point, and then we can establish a date after that point?
We could, or it could continue 4 weeks to the May 14th meeting.
All right, so when we do the May 14th, and if Mr. Wong still isn't ready at that point, then we can continue it again from there. Okay, Mr. Wong?
Okay, sir.
We want to give you plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, another good point. You might want to bring a representative from your sign company here also.
Okay, because they need, I tried call them, because they, Boston, they don't want to, they say too far, they cannot come, so. I tried calling, before
Okay.
I.
Well, I might strongly suggest you might want to bring one of them here,
Okay,
because I think, there's certain questions that you're not going to be able to answer,
yeah, okay,
okay?
okay.
All right.
That should be part of your service, Mr. Wong. I'd like to think.
Okay, so, Mr. Clerk, make a motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion as it relates to ZBA 2012-10, special permit assigned on 101 Lakeview Avenue for continuance to May 14th, 2012 meeting.
I'll second it.
I have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. Perrin?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue to May 14th.
Okay, Mr. Wong, we're going to continue this to May 14th, and hopefully you'll be all set to go then. All right, sir? Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good night. Okay, next matter before us is petition ZB 2012-11. The petition is a special permit. The applicant is S&A Industrial Nominee Trust. Property is located at 181 Industrial Ave. And the petition is S&A Industrial Nominee Trust is seeking a special permit to construct a 5,500 square foot addition to an existing 50,911 square foot building within the 50-foot buffer area of an adjacent wetland pursuant to section 5.2.3 of the zoning code. A representative of S&A Industrial Nominee Trust, please address the board. Yes, sir.
Good evening, board members. My name is Matthew Bombasi with Goldsmith, Preston Ringwall. I'm here representing S&A Trust.
Okay.
First
Would
off,
you like to tell us?
can I bring the board up? Just so you guys have a
Absolutely.
plan?
Yep. Forgot to get the guy's pictures back, huh? Yeah.
All right, the subject site is at 181 Industrial Ave. It's on the east side of Industrial Ave, just after its intersection with Swan Street. It's bordered to the north, the west, and south by additional industrial properties, and to the east by a large cemetery. We're here to request a special permit per the zoning bylaw, section 5.2.3, which requires a special permit from the ZBA for a structure within 50 feet to a wetland. We met with the Concom last month, and they issued an order of conditions for the same work. And they also gave a recommendation to approve the special permit. Basically, what we're doing is there's an existing paved area on the southeast side of the site. We want to remove 10,200 square foot of impervious paved area, which drains to the wetlands. In replace of it, it'll be a 5,500 square foot metal building addition, which will be used for storing, and I believe there's also a loading dock off the front. So a net reduction of 4,500 square foot of impervious area. It'll also eliminate all impervious area draining to the wetland, as the rest of the impervious area drains to a catch basin existing on site. We've also proposed stormwater measures to provide extra infiltration and improve the environmental, the groundwater recharge in the site. The existing building will line up with the existing metal roof of the building, continue to drain, so it'll be a continuous building when it's done. I guess to address some of the criteria for a special permit in the zoning bylaws, basically neighborhood character, where this is an existing industrial site with industrial abutters, environmental issues. We've received an order of conditions. We're improving stormwater on site, and we're also eliminating a good amount of impervious which currently drains to a wetland and replacing it with clean impervious, which will be infiltrated into the ground. Traffic access and safety. We've provided revised plans to the ZBA from the ones we provided to the Concom, which show existing parking spaces on site. There was an excess of parking spaces on site, and we meet the requirements even with the addition with the existing parking. We've modified the existing parking a little bit to add striping per ADA regulations for van loading. And additional impacts, I guess, as far as utilities, schools, taxes, this is just an addition to the building, so it's not really much of an impact there. I guess I'd be willing to accept any questions at this point.
Yep, I'll start off. Regarding the new construction, the end of the building, the building facing Swan Street, is there going to be any doors? Is it just completely closed off? Is there any access coming with this new extension?
Yeah, do you mind if I?
Sure. Yeah.
This is a roof over everything. In here, it's actually going to be a loading door right here, and there's a door, an existing door right here.
Okay. So I guess while you're standing there, I'll ask the question. So where would the vehicles be accessing those doors? Is it a loading dock, unloading and loading?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is the traffic coming off of Swan Street to access that?
It would come off Industrial Ave, yes, and then pull into Swan after coming this way.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. And do you have any well, are you representing the, you're not representing the company per se. You're not sure how many trucks per se are going in and out. Is there a representative of the company here? Yeah. Could you, sir, could I just have you introduce yourself and just,
Sure. My name is Adi Chennai, and with King Printing.
Yep.
And so the number of trucks, I think, is the question.
yeah, I was just curious, do you have an idea of how many times a day trucks will be in and out, or?
It'll be a pretty minimal usage. It's more for storage. It's just an access space that we're adding as a measure of, possibilities for growth in the future.
Yep, okay, thank you, sir, thank you. Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you, yep. So I think you stated also, the purpose of the extension is growth with the business and needing more space, and you said primarily, I guess, it'd be used for storage. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add at this point, sir?
No, sir, other than
Okay.
just,
In regards to the, you went before Conservation.
yes.
Did you attend that meeting?
I did not know.
Okay, yep, okay. Yeah, because it looks like the same proposal went before Conservation. They have a pretty detailed listing of conditions to be met.
Yes, most of them standard conditions, and also they requested the removal of some invasive species that were along the
Yep.
upland side of the wetlands.
Yep. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public at this point. Does anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Going to open up to the board. Dennis?
Three, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple questions on the building, but I must say, I love the fact that you're taking up the impervious that's existing and you're turning into green space, which is sorely needed there.
Yep, absolutely.
And so that's a great benefit in the idea of taking away the invasive species as much as you can.
Yeah,
Another great win, and improving the stormwater management, three great pluses. So I think you're on the right track, that's for sure. What is the finished floor elevation of the building?
the finished floor will match existing, which I believe is 59.74. The datum is the City of Lowell datum.
59. And so the grading adjacent to that for the dock height is going to be like 3 feet change difference?
I believe, yeah, the dock will be elevated in the air for the loading and unloading.
You anticipate a 4-foot dock height there?
Typically, it's no more than 2 feet, I would. The finished floors are going to match, right, to the existing building. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it's 59.74. In the existing grade, there's 56. So that, yeah, you're right, there is a 4-foot. Perhaps there will need to be a little bit of a ramp there.
And so you'd be potentially utilizing full-size tractor-trailer vehicles in that dock area at some point if you could?
Probably smaller vehicles. I don't think a full-size could make that maneuver.
The addition itself is going to match the existing architecture, which is sort of a pre-engineered metal building?
It's a metal
Is that
building,
correct?
correct, yeah, and the roof, as from west to east slopes, a constant slope down, and basically we'll just catch that and then keep going to the back. The roof drains that we have on the addition will catch also the runoff from part of the existing roof too.
How about lighting? Is there any security lighting being mounted on the addition?
Is there any security lighting?
We do like the exterior. We do like the exterior perimeter of the building, so we would follow that current trend.
Like wall packs, I guess, on the side of the building.
Typically, wall packs have a fair amount of glare. I know that this is an industrial zone, but I was just wondering if there's any way of improving the amount of glare from the wall packs.
I guess perhaps
open.
dark sky compliant type wall packs. I think you'd agree with that. Certain wall packs have cutoffs at the top just to not illuminate
Sure.
the sky.
Sure. Okay.
Those are available.
Just to touch base on the drainage,
Yes.
you've got the grade adjacent to the building roughly at 56, even though you finished floor, so you're going to have exposed foundation wall, is that correct?
Yeah, I guess exposed footing wall. I don't believe there's a foundation in the building. There's no foundation, correct? Is there a foundation under the building or?
There's a kicker wall.
A kicker wall? Yeah, it's like a footing wall, yeah.
The existing building does have a kicker wall. That's correct.
Yes.
But you're suggesting that the building finished floor is going to be roughly 4 feet above the grade of
Yes.
the dock area. Adjacent to the building where you're going to have the green space,
Yes.
is it going to be exposed foundation wall?
Yes, there would be some, yeah.
Okay, and where's the groundwater level? I mean, are you prone to flooding in that area at all?
Well, usually the wetlands is a good indication of the groundwater level. In this case, I would say the wetlands are mostly formed from stormwater. Wetlands can be formed by stormwater running off the road and flooding an area. There's no flooding, existing flooding in the area. And if you do go within these wetlands, it drops off several feet to the base of the wetlands inside there. So groundwater, I would imagine, would be 3 or 4 feet under the ground in that area.
And that's enough room for us to get the, it's a leaching galley that you're doing there for the infiltration bed, I'm sorry.
Well, traditionally, under the stormwater management standards, if you were to infiltrate dirty water or infiltrate water from an impervious surface, you would need to be 2 feet above the groundwater elevation. In this particular case, we're reducing the impervious, so we're not technically required to provide any recharge, where it's only roof water, it's not dirty water, no suspended solids. So we're just trying to, in the spring, there's a chance that it won't be infiltrating as much as in the fall because of a high groundwater table.
In the spring, is there a chance of ponding there?
Within the chambers? I guess suppose there would be a chance that there might be groundwater within the chambers, yeah.
Okay. Like I said when I started, I think that this is, I mean, any time you're improving the site like you're doing, I think it's a great, I just want to understand the aspects of the design, and I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I guess I echo Dennis's thoughts as far as the impervious surface being removed, and it's going to be loam and seed over the chamber?
Yeah, they'll remove the existing pavement, the existing gravel, they'll remove the invasive species, and then they'll bring in loam and seed the area.
Stabilize.
Yeah.
Okay. Elevation of the addition, I think you covered it, but basically you're running off what the existing height of the building is and continuing the slope.
Correct, I think the slope might be reduced actually a little bit, just to make sure there's adequate height in the addition, but yeah,
Okay.
it'll meet up.
What's the intent in the addition? Just storage?
Yes,
in
storage.
racks or floor storage, that type of thing?
I believe floor storage, they do publishing, so just storage of
Paper.
book materials, paper, things
Okay.
like that.
What other questions? I guess I drove by the site again today. I know that the site does meet parking. I just wonder if there's going to be potentially any parking the parking there now is kind of clustered.
Yep.
There are people on the street, which I don't even know if it's zoned to have street parking there or not, but I tried to drive through the parking lot just to kind of turn around, and it was a task. So I'm just wondering if there's any thought of putting some of that parking overage to the back of this, and I don't know that there's even room, but against like the Brooks Machine line there, their property line, something like that. Not that you have to do it, just a suggestion off the top of my head. It seemed like the parking out front was a little bit much.
Yeah.
As an observance. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kevin. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think it's a great project that you have the foresight to put a building up for projected new growth. But the questions regarding the elevation of the pervious surface were answered. I too had questions related to the parking. There was several cars when I was there parked on the street, not knowing who owns those cars is not within our purview. So I'm satisfied with the questions related to the elevation, and the exterior lighting was a concern as well. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Corey?
Yes, for you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to sound repetitive. I think the board members covered all the questions I would have had. I think it's a great project. You're enhancing, it's going to help your business, which is great to see. I wish you the best in your expansion. And it enhances the drainage and all sorts of pluses in my mind. So I do support it, and I wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess I would also echo everything that's been said by each of the board members. I think the first hurdle, getting through conservation, you were able to pass that hurdle. So as far as the motion or the approval, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to have a condition of the Conservation Commission meeting of March 14th, 2012, that spelled out 14 general conditions, that those also will be a condition of our approval. The next thing that, since this is a special permit, in reviewing the criteria for special permit, I believe this application or petition meets most of the criteria that the city has set up. Obviously, there is an economic need that would be realized here. Traffic flow and safety, we did talk about that. I was pleased with your comment there. I understand there's some comments around the parking, Joe. I didn't see any comments per se from DPD around parking, correct?
No, we didn't have any comments regarding the parking. The applicant was meeting their parking needs based on their use.
Yep. Neighborhood character, obviously, we've had a few petitions down in that area, so we know the area pretty well. The business has been there. I know I didn't ask how long the business has been there, but I'm sure it's been there many years. And impacts on the natural environment, obviously going through conservation, you hit on those. And fiscal impact, city services, tax base, obviously with another construction means more tax revenue for the city, which we all enjoy. But no, I think it's a good project, and unless another board member has any other comments or anything else they want to condition, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve ZBA 2012-11, a special permit at 181 Industrial Avenue, with the following conditions inclusive from the March 14th, 2012 Conservation Commission to include all 14 general conditions.
I have a second.
Second.
Have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve with conditions?
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions. Wish you very good luck with the project.
Thank you very much for
Turns
your
out
time.
very well. Joe, anything this gentleman has to sign? Okay.
Joe, will they need to sign anything? You already did? Okay, great.
Okay, our next petition is under continuances. This is ZB 2012-9, and the petition is a special permit under telecommunications. Applicant is Sprint Spectrum LP, property located at 1221 Westford Street. Petition to replace panel antennas, base equipment, and radio heads on an existing telecommunications tower pursuant to section 7.6 of the zoning ordinance. The representative of Sprint Spectrum, please address the board. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here today. My name's David R. Shambo. I'm from 14 Hollywood Avenue, Narragansett, Rhode Island, and I'm here representing Sprint and their replacement of antennas on an existing communication site. I know that we have been in front of you on other locations in the last few months, and this is a very similar thing. Sprint is upgrading its equipment across the country, and I'm working in this particular area to replace, in this particular case, 6 panel antennas that's on this existing site with 3 panels, and some of the equipment that used to be down at the base equipment with this new technology is up by the antennas now. Those are the remote radio heads, or the RRUs that are talked about. And in order to make this system work the way it does, they have to be next to the antennas. We're not going to be, we'll be replacing equipment at the base also, all within existing areas. We're not expanding anything. In the ultimate end situation, it's going to look very similar to what it looks like now. If you look at the photo sims, unless you're right there at the tower looking up trying to discern a difference, you're probably not going to notice any difference in the site.
So the equipment that you're talking about, you're taking from the ground level and putting up on the tower, it's the equipment, I guess I was going to ask the question, is it going to be a more cluttered look with bringing this equipment up?
It should not. Again, if you look at the photo simulations, there's really, the RRHs are shoebox size
Okay.
pieces of equipment. They're not the big boxes that are in the base. They're just a small section of what used to be in there are up at the antennas. Your cell phone creates a signal, sends it across the waves to the antenna. The antenna used to send it down to the bottom to the equipment, where it changes that signal to something that the internet, that the network can use. With the ability to handle more information, that signal has to change right at the antennas, as opposed to losing some of its signal as it goes down the cables to the base equipment. So once it's changed to that signal, then it can be transferred across cables, across the country, across the ocean, as a signal that won't deteriorate. So that's why those RRHs, the remote radio heads, are right up by the antennas. And the whole goal of this is, by handling more capacity at these sites, it's going to help make us not come back for new sites just because more and more people are using cell phones, the internet through the wireless, and the amount of use that everybody's using is just, it's staggering. So instead of coming back and trying to find another tower 6 blocks away, we're creating these systems to handle considerably more capacity.
So this equipment that's being put up on the, that's being moved from the ground up, are they located like behind the panels, or are they to the side of the panels? Not to beat a dead horse, I'm just curious.
On these particular ones, it would show on the drawings, but I believe that these are behind the existing antennas.
Okay, so just visually, if I looked at the tower today and looked tomorrow with the new equipment, those would be blocked out by the panels?
Yes.
Do we know how many other carriers are on that tower?
Just by looking at it, it looks like there are 3 others, but there's actually another guy, I believe it's a small, somewhat guide tower that's there, a freestanding lattice tower that I believe is used by the ambulance company
Right, yeah.
that's there. But it would appear that there are 3 other carriers on this tower.
So there's a total of 4 already on there?
That's what it appears. I'm not 100% sure of what the other carriers are there.
Oh, that's fine, okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us about it?
Again, the whole goal of this is it's an equipment upgrade. We're not building a new site. There'll be no extra, once it's built, there'll be no extra car traffic. There's no sewer, there's no water. We have existing power. We won't be adding to that. There really will be no impact other than a positive for everybody in town to be able to use more services.
And when you mention about the difference in the transmission, that you don't have to go from the tower down to the ground, So with this upgrade, I guess I'll call it, is it to handle, it isn't to extend your bandwidth, it's more to handle data flow. Does that sound correct to you or not?
It's a little of both.
Okay.
It's not to extend the distance that we can
Yep.
cover people, but to be able to give everybody that's in the coverage area the ability to use these antennas at a higher speeds and have more people on them.
So which ties into the infamous phrase, more reliability, right? Yeah.
We're hoping.
Not that that's
We're hoping.
Okay. Yeah. No, because, I know enough of us on the board have been through the cell tower petitions before us, and I'm noticing more and more are coming back for the upgrading. And I'm always interested to see, if you upgrade today, does that mean you come back in another year or 5 years? It's probably an unpredictable, but
It is.
serious.
The growth of usage has so exceeded predictions from 5 years ago where it would be today. To say where we think it's going to be in 5 years, it's absolutely impossible. We're learning how to learn faster and make these things work better, and we're doing more things with it. I think I just heard something from Apple that they have the glasses that you hit the button and you can, as your regular glasses, you can start doing computer stuff right in front of you. You're gonna hit the button, say, "Beam me up, Scotty," someday. I mean, there's no way to predict it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple questions about the equipment on the tower. The 6 antennas or panel antennas that are being replaced for 3 panel antennas and 6 remote heads, is that a net decrease? That tower is crowded with equipment. I look at that
Yes.
and I see a lot of stuff up there. So I'm thinking a decrease would be great,
There will be 3 less antennas.
which are large. They're 6 feet
That-
high. or
right.
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
And the little radio heads are much smaller. They're,
Correct.
1.5 feet square or something. Right?
Correct. There are dimensions on them in the package.
So it feels like there's a decrease in volume of material in the air, which is going in the right direction in
Yes.
my mind.
Yes.
And then the idea that we're getting more capacity, which potentially is lessening the burden so it's a win-win, and so you're improving.
That's the goal.
On other sites, we typically screen the equipment. The fencing gets some kind of treatment or landscaping or something, but on this site, that wasn't done, or it hasn't been done, or isn't being done yet. And, it's hidden by the building from view on one side, but certainly running south, I guess, you're looking up at it. And is there a reason why we can't do something with that fencing, or?
We don't own this tower. We are leasing space on this tower, and the height that we are at this tower would suggest to me that we were nowhere near this when it was first built. So I have no idea
Okay.
the process it went through at the beginning.
I just wanted to test the
Yep.
waters to see how far we could go here, but I'm glad we're decreasing the amount of equipment on the tower, and we're improving the product that's up there, so.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
No problem.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that I think I can speak for the whole board that we'd much rather see this type of application coming to upgrade the technology that's there now versus you wanting to put up another tower at the end of Drum Hill or something along those lines. So other than that, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the petitioner for his packet and the information, the way it's presented tonight. I know in past petitions, things have been unclear. It's very well prepared, and I
Thank you.
appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to do that tonight.
Can I give you my boss's email address? And
Well,
send-
Yeah, it must be. I'm sure he's well aware of the work that you're doing.
Yes, thank you.
I do agree with my colleague. I do appreciate the reduction from 6 to 3, and I guess it would say your foresight, and it seems like you're skipping a beat to get to the next upgrade, which is formidable in this time. One question I do have as it relates to the triple band antennas. Are they the same? I mean, I'm looking at the dimensions. Are they the same size as that's up there now?
The new antennas?
Yeah.
I believe they're about a foot longer.
Just a foot longer?
A foot or maybe just over a foot longer, yes.
But you do have there is a reduction in size as it relates to the radio heads. You're just bringing them upstairs.
The radio heads
Going from the
were
floor,
in
from ground
base
level.
in the base equipment, and
Right.
that base equipment is actually being swapped out with new
The
base
ground.
equipment. But a piece that was in that base equipment
Okay.
is now turned into these radio heads and put up at the antennas.
So it's just a minor, it's in relative, it's half of the product coming from the ground
Yes.
level to the top. Okay. Again, I wish you the best of luck, and I do appreciate, the package.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Corey?
To you, Mr. Chairman, I'm in agreement with my fellow board members. I'm always in favor of less of a visual impact here. I mean, it's mainly a commercial area up there in the first place, but we'll take what we can get as far as any kind of visual impact, so that's great. So I do support it, and I wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And I assume I fill this out here?
Well, you better wait for me to finish with my piece, and then,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
you were talking about, talking to your boss? Yeah, I believe, I know you answered the questions that I had regarding the tower, and I also echo the comments by the board members. We're getting to be old pros at telecommunications now, not that we know it all for sure, but again, anytime that we can reduce cluttering, I guess is what I'll call it, and obviously keep service up for the providers is important for the residents of the city, but also for our customers. So with that said, Mr. Clerk, I have a motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve ZBA 2012-9, a special permit on telecommunications at 1221 Westford Street.
Do I have a second?
Second motion?
A roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approved.
Mr. Perrin?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved?
Okay, sir, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you
And,
very much.
Joe, anything for this gentleman to sign? Yep. Okay, next order of business is approval of the minutes from March 12th and March 26th. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, I have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 12th, 2012, and March 26th, 2012.
I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Have a good night. Thank you.
And could we have a roll call for the minutes of March 12th and March 26th, please?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approved.
Mr. Perrin?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve?
Okay, anything else any of the board members have? Hearing none, like a motion to adjourn.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
adjourned.